We're surrounded by.
With the first pick in the 2024 NFL Draft.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Miller, joined as always by my co-host, Corey Kinnan. And as predicted, this is a very special episode. It is a Daft or Draft episode. We love doing this. We get to get a little hot takey here. We get to really go out and explore the outer confines of NFL draft topics. And we get to do it at 4 a.m., which means I have a large cup of coffee in my hand. I don't know when you're going to be listening or watching this, but we are talking quarterback-specific topics today. I feel like we haven't talked about quarterbacks in a while.
We haven't. Yeah, we've kind of gone on a quarterback strike there for a while.
Yeah, the Cam Ward stuff, here and there, Shadur falling, but that's like all mock draft adjacent stuff. We're going to get into some quarterback-specific topics today, but I can't do it alone. Corey, you were talking Daredevil. How are you doing today?
Yeah, it's 12:15 a.m. here. That's my second stay up night of two that I like to do during the week. So it's a good time for me to get a little Daredevil in. We're all caught up now, all 4 episodes in, and TV's in a real. This is really off topic. TV's in a really good spot right now. There's a lot of good stuff on between Severance and Daredevil, and White Lotus is back. It feels like I've got
White Lotus is back, and then you
ton
also
of stuff
have
to watch, man. Righteous Gemstones just came back on too. I'm a huge Righteous Gemstones fan. I love that show.
Severance.
So,
me and the wife haven't gotten a chance to get back into it yet. We're gonna go back and rewatch season 1 again. But dude, I'm so excited for season 2. That the end of the first season ended fantastically.
Finale's on Friday.
Yeah, I need to catch up on Dragon Ball Daima as well. I haven't watched an episode since I've been back in Portugal, so that'll be a binge worthy one. But yeah, the TV in a pretty decent spot right now, man. And it's honestly, it's what we need as a society, because like movies are just kind of dead at this point overall. So you need TV to watch. I will say the one complaint that I have is that we don't have like 20 episode seasons anymore. It just monetarily, these companies can't really do it. And the production value is so high that you can't do 20 episodes anymore. So like 8 episode seasons are tough, but overall, the quality of those episodes of each episode is great. And again, like I have some issues with that because like in my sitcoms, in my shows, I like a filler episode every once in a while.
Yeah.
I don't feel like my heart should be ripped from my chest every single episode, but we need to talk about these quarterbacks and we're going to get into it right now. And the first Daft or Draft topic is trading a day 3 pick for Joe Milton is better than using a top 3 pick on Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders. Corey, can we add a couple of quarterbacks to the list here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hendon Hooker.
Malik Willis. Let's throw
Malik Willis.
Let's throw Malik Willis in there.
Like just any kind of Will Levis.
Not that
Will
one.
Levis. But like for me,
yeah,
like I'm gonna take a shot on Will Levis 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000 before Joe Milton personally. Just from where I had both of them graded coming out of school, it's not even close.
For sure,
and I didn't love Will Levis. For me, I think it's situational for sure. Do you already have an entrenched starter in place, or are you asking one of these guys to come in and start right away? Because if they're going to start right away, I'm not trading a day 3 pick and like just throwing Joe Milton out there to the Wolves. I will do that on a top 3 pick. I will do that to Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders, even though I don't think it's the best for their future success. But for me, a better bet, no, because at the end of the day, the there's a ceiling, and then there's like attainable ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how realistic is it? Because people talk about upside all the time, but how realistic is the upside is what's important. And we talk about this specifically with Anthony Richardson versus other guys. If a big arm and athleticism is nothing if you don't at least flash the cognitive ability to play quarterback at the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, specifically with Joe Milton, it wasn't there. For me, if I'm going to do this, I think the one guy I would do it for is Hendon Hooker, because you saw him operate that Tennessee offense, even though it is a Mickey Mouse offense. You saw him operate that offense at a high level, and he was a decent enough athlete. He had a good enough arm. I think Malik Willis would cost too much.
You think so? Isn't the last year of his contract?
Yeah, but I think with the way that he played in Green Bay, you get little flashes of that at quarterback, and that might be a day 2 pick.
I think you get a fourth. I think you get away with a fourth because it is.
If you can get away with a fourth, I would do that for Malik Willis at this point. From what I saw in Green Bay, the athleticism,
those flashes in Green Bay, man, those
they were good.
games were good. Good football. Good football. So I think I'm on the same page as you here. I think we're really jumping the shark with the Joe Milton in that one game against the Bills to end the season, again when the Bills were resting all their starters. Basically, we're really jumping the shark, and we're just saying this guy's got a big arm and he's athletic, so why not throw the dart at it? I think there are some situations that still might be preferential, even from an ownership perspective. Like, I talk a lot about the Browns because I'm very saturated in the Browns world, but like Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski could easily be fired at the end of the year. Is it worth that franchise taking a quarterback this year if they don't love either of them, or is it worth throwing a vet quarterback, Kirk Cousins, for say, with Kenny Pickett and Joe Milton in a room and saying, fight it out for a year and see what happens?
Yeah.
Like that's where I get intrigued, is like, hey, if you're going to go out swinging, and trading for going out with Joe Milton would be going out swinging to the nth degree, for sure. Because again, how much are you going to bank your job on a rookie quarterback if you are Kevin Stefanski, if you are Andrew Berry in that situation? I think there are some teams like, what about Pittsburgh, man? Pittsburgh doesn't want Russ back. They're waiting on Rodgers. It sounds like Rodgers is probably going to Pittsburgh though, but like but even Rodgers is probably a 1-year thing. He's 42 and he's bad, booed out of every building he's in. Like,
and he's bad.
Family's in there, and he's bad now.
The people of Pittsburgh, he is such a horrific culture fit. I mean, and just generally, but he is. I can't think of a more blue collar, no bull attitude place than Pittsburgh or like Buffalo.
And Mike Tomlin's going to let him go on Pat McAfee once a week. I can't see that happening. But
I don't know.
I
don't know.
Yeah.
I want to reframe. I want to reframe this real quick.
Let's do it.
After draft, and trading a day 3 pick for a Joe Milton or any of these guys is better than using a 1st round pick on Jaxson Dart.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
Even the back half of round 1. Okay, because I'm right there with you, because I just don't see it with Jaxson Dart, and I know other people do. Even guys like JT. And I haven't watched his videos on it yet, but I'm a Patreon of his.
Yeah.
And I see like, oh, he had a good game. Like, that's like the caption for his videos, and it's just like, and what are you seeing that I'm not seeing? Because I'm not seeing it at all.
No.
But let me reframe that again. Trading a day 3 pick for any of these guys is a better bet than using a round 2 pick on Jaxson Dart.
Yeah.
Me too.
In my opinion.
I'm glad we're there with Jaxson Dart, because that's just where I am. And that's pretty much all we need to talk about with Jaxson Dart.
I think so too.
Okay, cool.
This feels very much like I went back and had to look at some of Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft 3.0s over the past couple of years and just see what other quarterbacks from the 1st round. 2022, he actually did a really good job of only having Kenny Pickett as the only quarterback in his 1st round. But like going back to 2023, like Hendon Hooker is in his 1st round. Hendon Hooker went 3rd round. Going back to 2022, a lot of people had Desmond Ridder in the 1st round, went 3rd round. Malik Willis wasn't being mocked outside of the 1st round, like by experts all over the board, and he went round 3. So like, this very much feels like a little media buzzy-ish situation again, where we're gonna get to the draft and it's like, oh, like Malik Willis didn't go first round. Oh, Malik Willis didn't go second round. Desmond Ridder went like it very much feels like that. The same thing with Hendon Hooker. Like the buzz, this is such a good locker room guy. He was having a Heisman season before the injury, blah, blah, blah. Like, and then like mocks had him in the first round. Again, Daniel Jeremiah on his mock a month before the draft had him in the first round. Peter Schrager always does his like day of draft, and he's got these guys in the first round. Will Levis went second round, which there's a lot that went into the Will Levis thing from a bozo brain perspective, I guess is the best way to say that. But that's to say, like the Dart thing feels very much like the Hooker thing, like the Ridder thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on. I think we're gonna get to the draft and he's gonna go like 60th overall or like 75th overall, and we're gonna like, okay.
Yeah. A little bit on that topic, Jalen Milroe, despite the rocky end of the season in the Senior Bowl, will be the third quarterback off of the board.
I'm gonna draft this one. I still think that Jalen Milroe is probably like, and this is how I see it. This is what I heard at the combine, and this is how I see it personally as well. With Tyler Shuck, what you see is what you get. And there is a good amount of arm talent and a good amount of arm flexibility to work with. But
athleticism.
But he's a seventh-year senior who didn't play a full season until his seventh season in college football. Like that's an issue, a huge issue. And he's old. Like, and then there's Dart we can talk about, but like Dart, I think, has average tools, average athleticism, and was slow to get to his receivers in an offense that intentionally made it more spread out and easier on him. Like I think what you see is what you get with Dart there. We talk a lot about upside, but like what's the upside with Jaxson Dart?
So I think I'm just a little bit higher on his athletic tools than you are, athletic and his arm than you are. I don't think that they're top tier. Like he could be Josh Allen type stuff is hilarious to me. But I mean, I do think he's above average in both of those.
Probably above average. Like I would say I'd agree with above average.
Yeah.
But like
it's tools that you can work with as an NFL starter for sure. But when you pair that with a Mickey Mouse offense and being late in a Mickey Mouse offense, that's where I really start to.
Again, Will Howard, kind of the same way. He went on a Linsanity run there in the playoffs, but I still think his arm is, for a big dude, is pretty average, and he does have some athleticism to work with. But and that's to say, like all these other quarterbacks that we're talking about outside of Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, I feel like is very much what you see is what you get. With Jalen Milroe, it's like the Forrest Gump life is like he's the box of chocolates. Like you don't know what you're going to get. And to me, you get a guy who just ran a 4.4 4.40 at his pro day. He's got a big arm. He's working with Jordan Palmer, and you can tell that he's intentionally getting better in his mechanics and that he's honing it and really working on it. Like, is he good right now? No. But like, I don't think those other quarterbacks are super good right now either. So like, yeah, that's the shot that I'm taking. And that's the shot that I think the NFL is going to take. I think he's still going to be quarterback 3.
And I'm going to draft this too, and I'm going to draft it for that very reason. So I'm drafting this because when you look, and especially AFC teams, because when you look at the NFC, Matt Stafford on the way out.
Yep.
Dak Prescott, mid-30s. Geno Smith, mid-30s. You can win in the NFC with a Jalen Hurts level quarterback, which is probably outside of the top 10. In the AFC, you need somebody who can go toe-to-toe with Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, like absolute freaks of nature. And that's not even getting into like CJ Stroud and Trevor Lawrence, like guys who have talent, and it might not all be put together yet. And Trevor, it might never be put together, but it's just like from a physical talent perspective, you need a Jalen Milroe type of athlete. You need somebody who is a force multiplier offensively. And so you need to, if you're an AFC team, to take a shot on that athletic upside, on that arm talent. And that's where I'm at with it. And then, like you said, you put that with 4.44 at 220 and 6'1".
Mm-hmm.
And this is a guy who you can incubate. You can let hibernate behind an entrenched starter for a minute. But you can also get him live game reps as a Wildcat plus quarterback.
Yes.
And you should do that in your offense. And you should get him in there to run the tush push for as long as it is legal in the NFL, because he's got the Jalen Hurts body type plus more explosiveness. So, like, there's ways to get him on the field and get him live reps and keep him comfortable and build his confidence back up as a rookie, as a second-year guy. And I was on the radio with Las Vegas. Las Vegas would be a great fit. They get an extension done with Geno for the next couple of years. He's out of there when he's 38. Jalen Milroe comes in year 4 or year 3, and becomes the starter. And maybe he is Jalen Hurts, but even Jalen Hurts with a 4.44 speed adds a little bit more. So, I mean, let's see what they're able to do with the roster there. But I think there are fits in the NFL. You talked about the Jets in pre-show. Like, there are situations here where you could legitimately see Jalen Milroe, the Browns, potentially as well. An offense that can kind of get him answers and let him pick apart defenses, which is a dichotomy from Jalen Hurts, who is very much like a sideline 9-ball, like a thrower, and kind of inefficient, especially over the middle of the field. That's kind of not what we saw from Jalen Milroe when he was playing at his best for Alabama. He was picking apart the middle of the field, and he was showing that he had answers against the blitz, and he was playing with great confidence. And then after the Vandy game, it just fell apart.
Yep. So I'm going to take this a hot take even a step further. I don't think he gets past 42. I think he's absolute. Well, let's call it 48, because I'm looking at the second round here. I don't think he goes first round, but again, I think only 2 quarterbacks go first round. Cleveland at 33, Giants at 34, depending on what they do at 3. Vegas at 37. New Orleans at 40. Kellen Moore just coached Jalen Hurts, won a Super Bowl with them. Jets at 42. The Niners sound like a fun fit on paper, but I think Kyle Shanahan would kill Jalen Milroe. So I don't think that's a great fit. And then 48 Miami. Like, think about all of the concussions that Tua has and how, like, bad the backup quarterback play has been behind him as well. Like, I'm curious. Like, if Milroe's on the board at 48, would they take him?
That's an interesting fit that I haven't thought about, especially when we talk about the middle of the field stuff.
And all of the speed on that offense.
And all of the speed on that offense. And Mike McDaniel being a former run game coordinator. The fun stuff that he could do with Jalen Milroe in a package, even with a healthy Jalen Hurts, is an interesting thing that I have not thought about whatsoever.
And then Seattle even sits at 50, which I don't think Clint Kubiak is a great fit for Jalen Milroe personally, but like, they have Sam Darnold and they can get out of that contract after a year. And then Sam Howell's in the last year of that contract as well, of his rookie deal. So like, Seattle's at 50. So like, I think he's a top 50 lock. There are too many quarterback needy teams, too many quarterback in unstable teams who can't get one in the first round and who haven't been able to get one in free agency long term to say like he's going to fall. Like, I think he's going top 50. I think he's going top 50. All right, let's jump to the third.
I don't hate it.
I don't either. So let's jump to the third one. Let's talk some day 3 quarterbacks here. Let's put the microscope on one specifically to make it hot takey here, to Daft or Draft here. Daft or Draft. Syracuse's Kyle McCord is the best day 3 quarterback in this draft. Daft or Draft.
So I want to ask a question first.
Uh-huh.
Since they're day 3 guys, are we looking at this through the lens of maybe he could end up being a potential starter someday?
That's up to your imagination, because I kind of have an answer to this. I think that's up to your imagination.
Like, if I'm drafting on day 3, there are two situations. I'm looking for a backup or I'm looking to take a shot on a guy.
Yep.
And if I'm looking for a backup, Kyle McCord is not that guy. Ryan Fitzpatrick, maybe as a backup, because like he could go out and throw 5 interceptions in a game. That's Kyle McCord.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's not necessarily what I want in my backup.
Right. You want a high floor player who, if you need to come in, you can get serviceable playing time out of.
I want Riley Leonard. I want Riley Leonard. In as a backup. I want Curtis Rourke as a backup. And Curtis Rourke, I like Rourke, and Rourke played through an injury this year. So the big guy with the little arm, like very little arm, I think his arm is a little bit better than it was this year because he was playing through injury. He's very unathletic as well, but I like Rourke a little bit. But for me, it's Riley Leonard, it's Max Brosmer. Like I want somebody who I think can operate an offense and not get you absolutely killed for 2 or 3 games while your starter misses with a high ankle sprain. Yep. If I'm drafting a guy to just like stash and potentially develop, Kyle McCord's probably that guy, because Kyle McCord has that, what I call the Tony Romo in him, where it's that fun amount of bozo gene to playmaking ability in a somewhat athletic but not super athletic like build. And so for me, I'm going to Daft this, but I'm also going to draft this in one very specific instance.
Yeah, I'm going to adapt it too, because I think you hit the nail on the head there. And it was something that I was going to say is like, again, if you're taking a quarterback on day 3, you are saying, I'm hoping to have 4 years of contract control on a cheap backup quarterback who, if I need to come in, can offer me a high floor and not this gunslinger mentality, and you never know which way it's going to go. Like that's the thing with Kyle McCord, is his ceiling is probably the highest. His ceiling is the highest of any day 3 quarterback. His floor is probably also the lowest of any of those day 3 quarterbacks. Like, and that's what we're talking about here with McCord. I mean, he threw 5 interceptions in a game this year. Like, he led the NCAA in a lot, like in passing as well, and some categories. But like, he'll go out and he'll throw the ball into coverage, and he'll go on like legit benders where it's like, what the heck are you doing? I tend to think that Max Brosmer would be my guy. Like if I'm taking a day 3 quarterback for that 4 years of roster control, Max Brosmer is probably my guy to do that. But it kind of has me thinking of like, well, what are some fun Kyle McCord fits who could, like, what team could do something like that? Like Buffalo behind Josh Allen.
Oh, Buffalo behind Josh Allen might not be a bad idea.
Tampa behind Baker. But they just re-signed Kyle Trask for 1 year. But Kyle, I could go on a tangent about Kyle Trask and how that dude got absolute paid and never had to take a single snap on his rookie contract. Dude is living the life. So I like Tampa, Buffalo,
Pittsburgh.
That's it. Like Dallas, maybe.
I never know what Dallas is doing. I mean, Dallas trotted Cooper Rush out, and Cooper Rush ended up like playing half decently for Dallas for a lot of years. But like as a physical talent, there was nothing there with Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
So they kind of went the safer route. So bring me Max Brosmer.
Yep. I'm on the Brosmer train there as well. That's my day 3 quarterback. And again, that's assuming Will Howard goes day 2, which he might not go day 2. But I still think I might prefer Shuck. I think will go day 2. I think his arm talent is too good, and that I think a little bit of that buzz is real. And I think Dart will go day 2 as well.
You think Riley Leonard goes day 2 or day 3?
Day 3.
You think so?
It wouldn't shock me if Riley Leonard went borderline undrafted.
Really?
He's got a nice arm, and he's got a flexible arm, but like half the time I'm like, what the heck is that? Is he looking at? Like, what the heck is he seeing? And I think there's a reason they just like built a run game around him and kind of insulated him within that.
I just think that I've thought this since day 1 with Riley Leonard. There's a lot of Daniel Jones in him where it's just like, I will not push the football no matter what. It's not going downfield. I'm not doing it. And when it does go downfield, it's nowhere near on target. And it's just the way that his game is. But that kind of also goes to it where like inside of 5 yards, there's some really bad misses on tape from Riley Leonard.
Mhm.
But like inside of 5 yards, like quick game stuff, I think he's pretty good overall. And then you bring the rushing element, the battering ram element into it. I wish he was 230 and not 210, but I like his style. I like his game.
So I had heard something from a scout that actually really surprised me, considering the two universities that he went to are both highly prestigious academic institutions in Duke and Notre Dame.
You talked about this,
but, yeah. But I might have said on the pod before, but like I was told by a scout that like Notre Dame had to be pretty careful about not over installing because Leonard didn't have he didn't have an IQ, but like didn't have maybe the football acumen to digest on the fly.
I could have
on a
said
week to
something
week
here.
basis. Like
I could have said something here, and I'm not going to say it. I will tell you off air.
Okay.
And we will keep it at that, and we will keep this in the podcast so you guys can have your brains put 2 and 2 together. It might be more of a more difficult math equation than just 2 plus 2. But if you guys can make the connection that I just made in my head, you'll chuckle. Do we have another question here?
We do. We have one more,
right?
Yeah.
Let's get to it.
We just talked about Will Howard a little bit here, about fringe day 2, day 3 guy. Daft or draft Dalton, Will Howard would be getting the hype that some of these other quarterbacks like Tyler Shuck, like Jaxson Dart are getting if he would have participated in the Senior Bowl.
If he would have been on his Linsanity playoff run while doing it at the Senior Bowl, absolutely, 100%. We'd be hearing about it because, dude, some of those Emeka Egbuka throws over the middle of the field, disgusting. I mean, like high level NFL throws. Howard is so interesting to me because like he's big, he's athletic.
His deep ball is pretty too.
Yeah, when you saw him at Kansas State, like we talked about it over the summer, it's like this is a guy who might be a dude. He might be a little bit of a dude. The arm isn't huge for a big guy. It's a little Mason Rudolph-ish. Unless you are my doppelganger and you think that Mason Rudolph has a huge arm. But a decent athlete. And if you could tell me that you can get Will Howard at the top of round 4, if I'm a team, I might trade up into the back end of round 3 and draft Will Howard, because I really like Will Howard as a guy who could be a potential spot starter in the NFL someday because of the size, because of the athleticism, and because of what we just saw him do in the playoffs. That was NFL level stuff. Now, has it been there throughout his entire college career? No. Did it happen really before he was on an incredibly talented football team? No. But he was thrown to NFL talent, and he knew how to throw to NFL talent, and he trusted his arm to throw to NFL talent. And that's not something we've seen from guys who have gone a lot higher than he is going to go in April.
Yeah, so that's the big question here: was the Linsanity run in the playoffs? Was that a turning point, or did that entire Ohio State football team just like flip a switch and just go absolute bonkers the playoffs?
We thought Michigan broke them. Michigan really
I did. I was like, Brian Day's going to get fired. They're
stamps.
done. I thought they were going to get, yeah. So what's interesting about Howard's charting profile is that the entire season, he's a very, very much like a Jalen Hurts passer where he just throws the boundary. He just wants to throw the flats, throw the outs, throw to the boundary. Pretty anemic to the middle of the field. The playoffs, he's like, the Texas game, he's like threading a dagger to Emeka Egbuka over the middle. It's like the Bradley Beal meme. Like, I've never seen you act like this before. The John Wall Bradley Beal meme. It's like, who is this guy? The Emeka Egbuka throws against Oregon and Tennessee, those seam balls. It's like, it's a completely different football player. So like, did something click? Because I think that means a lot. That matters a lot. Did something click? It was like, oh, this is what I'm seeing, and this is how I attack it. Or was it like just like they all just shut their brains off? They're like, let's just go play football. I don't know, but I do tend to think that he would be getting some hype, so a lot more hype than what he's getting now. If he would have participated in the Senior Bowl as well. Yeah, I'm on board with that.
All right, guys, that was an episode of Daft or Drive.
That was a fun one.
Usually we're pretty quick with these, but we had a lot to say, and I think it just kind of comes down to we really haven't talked about the quarterbacks in a long time because we have been abstaining from quarterback talk for the most part because we just don't love this class all that much, and it's not worth talking about for the most part. But when you let it build inside of you for a while, it comes out like a volcano. And so we got 30 minutes out of this episode. Corey, we will be back. We are going to, I believe, ask your questions on social media and get to them for the next episode of Daft or Draft. Do you have anything else that you would like to say to the people or ask the people?
I got nothing, man. It is almost 1 a.m. here. I'm going to go to bed. So I got nothing here.
If you're listening to this, if you hear this before we record our next episode, shoot us your questions on social media. You can find me at Dalton B. Miller. You can find him at the fake Corey Kinnan. I love you guys. Goodbye.